Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the new Last of Us Part 2 update, which allows you to experience the story in chronological mode. If you've played the game before and you want a fresh perspective, or if you're new and wondering how best to approach it, stick around, because playing this game in chronological order seriously changes everything. I literally just finished replaying the game in this new mode, and I have the PS5 achievement right here. It says 0.4% of people have it only, and that's because this new chronological mode was just updated a week or two ago, and not many people have had the chance to jump in and try it yet. One of the biggest improvements in this new chronological mode is the flashback sequences. In the original game, the flashbacks were scattered throughout and felt very disjointed, especially during intense gameplay moments. But when you play chronologically, these scenes are cohesive and actually help set up the story in a way that emotionally prepares you for what's to come. With Ellie's story, we start out with Joel and her in Jackson, and we see that Ellie now lives alone, and you can tell her relationship with Joel isn't what it used to be. But at this point, she still hasn't found out about what Joel did in the end of the first game. We then skip to the birthday flashback where her and Joel go to the museum with the dinosaurs, and then they go into the spaceship where Ellie gets to live out her dream of going to space. Then we get the flashback of Tommy teaching Ellie how to use the sniper, and then finally we skip right to the flashback of Ellie at the hospital finding out what really happened in Salt Lake City at the end of the first game. Seeing all these flashbacks back to back really show you how Joel and Ellie's relationship was affected by what happened in the last game, and it does it so cohesively. As much as I loved the original version of The Last of Us Part 2, I always felt like the flashbacks were placed so randomly, and it didn't do them justice. Neil Druckmann himself even admit that the porch scene that we see at the end of the game, he didn't know where to place it exactly, and they just decided to put it at the end of the game randomly. It didn't seem like it had any place being there. Another huge plus is how Abby's section plays out. Let's be honest, in the original game, being thrown into Abby's 10-hour journey right after Ellie's arc felt jarring for a lot of people. I remember the first time I played The Last of Us Part 2, when we switched to Abby for the first time, I thought to myself, oh, this is probably just going to be a 5-minute section or something, where we get to see something from Abby's perspective. Yeah, well, that 5-minute section turned out to be 10 hours. Literally, the entire second half of the game turned out to be all Abby's section, and it just felt so confusing and shocking in the worst way possible. So now here's the thing, in this new chronological mode, the story switches between Ellie and Abby more fluidly, so you're not stuck in one perspective for too long. It keeps the momentum going and makes it feel more natural. It really does make Abby's section feel less jarring and shocking. And speaking of Abby, because of the fact that we see all her flashbacks right in the beginning of the game with her father and finding out what happened to him, right away we know who she is and why she hates Joel from the beginning, unlike in the original version. And it completely changes how you see her as a character. You understand her motivations early on, and instead of feeling like a random villain, she becomes a tragic character with a reason to be angry. Honestly, it made me sympathize with her way more than I did during my first playthrough, and the fact that we didn't have to sit through her section for 10 hours straight also made me like her more. Now, I don't want to make it seem like chronological mode is perfect and somehow turns The Last of Us Part 2 into some kind of masterpiece, because that's just not true. Obviously, this mode doesn't change the actual story of the game. All the major moments that polarized a lot of fans, like Joel dying or being forced to play as Abby, all of that still happens here, but they do feel more digestible in this mode. However, it's still important to note that if you didn't like the game the first time around, you still might not like it in chronological mode, since this mode doesn't rewrite the story, it just reframes it. And if I had to point out another downside, it's that the first couple of hours are pretty slow gameplay-wise. You're sitting through a lot of flashbacks, and some of the powerful emotional beats that originally hit at the end of the game now happen earlier. So yeah, the ending may feel a bit less effective, and the first 2 hours of the game have little to no gameplay. But honestly, the trade-off was worth it. So if you're considering replaying The Last of Us Part 2, I highly recommend trying chronological mode. It won't fix every complaint people had, but it might just make you appreciate the story a whole lot more. If you're new to The Last of Us Part 2, then I'd say just stick with the original mode first to experience the story how it was meant to be. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives like this one. Thank you for watching.